Okay. I think people can hear me. There we go. Dartboy, what's going on? Alright. I think I finally figured this out. Michael's made his way over. Alright. Let's see. Did we leave anybody in the general? Hopefully nobody's still there. Cool. Let's get you guys up on stage. Sweet.
Thanks for accepting me, Lord.
There we go. Sorry, what'd you say?
Thanks for bringing me up, Elijah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Glad you made it in. A little technical difficulties there getting started, but finally figured it out. I don't know what's going on with the general channel. I couldn't do any voice sharing in there, so I'll have to just move it over here.
Yeah, it's a little expected on the first round, so
Right?
we don't blame you at all.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Well, welcome to the DAO, and welcome. What's up, Dartboy? How's it going?
Going pretty good, mate. Early morning, 10 a.m. No. But it's yeah, I don't know, it's good. I have to keep my voice down because the girlfriend's sleeping, but
All good, all good.
Yeah.
So you're on the West Coast too?
yeah, I am.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm in LA. I think you're in LA, I'm assuming.
Santa Barbara.
Oh, okay, sweet. Well, just up the road. That's nice.
Yeah, so not far at all.
Love it.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's see if hopefully we can get Preze over here. I see him in the general chat. Stacking Smiles, feel free to raise your hand if you want to come up and join the stage, join the chat. Just gonna make drop a little announcement in the general chat. Cool. All right. Prezi made it. So let's hop in. So I did drop an agenda in the general chat, but just wanted to get started. Or actually, was it in the announcements channel? I believe. Sorry about that. So in the announcements channel, there's that agenda. I've been working on that the past couple of days, just updating it. So hopefully we can run through most of that stuff today. But I just want to start with brief introductions. So my name is Elijah. Started this group a couple months ago. Started this idea a few months ago. Just started as a spin-off, essentially, from my day job, which is CEO of Delta Leaf Labs. So we do genetic testing, and we're generating a lot of data for people, and it sort of led to the problem of, well, how do we, create a platform for people to publish this data in a, fair and incentivized way. And that spun off into the DAO. So that, now DAO is a completely separate thing. DAO's raising its own funding. And it's this community project where hopefully we can, I think, align people to participate in the cannabis genome data, collecting data, analyzing data and all that sort of stuff. And then sharing data and hopefully grow this community and hopefully the plant as well. So thank you guys for joining, and if either of you would like to introduce yourselves, I would love to hear your backgrounds.
Guys, I'm Michael. I am actually work my 24/7 job with Elijah as Chief Sales Officer and Chief Grow Officer of Delta Leaf Lab. I do cultivate year-round indoor, outdoor greenhouse, love breeding, and just a nerd about genetics. So really just interested in getting more genetics out there to everyone and making this more accessible and bringing this knowledge to the hands of everyone that would like to have it. And I appreciate being here. Thank you guys. And if anyone ever wants to reach out and see, have any questions about what I'm doing or have a conversation deeper about what I'm doing, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Yeah, g'day everyone. My name's Nick Dart. I'm an Australian-born creator. I'm really passionate about decentralized finance, and I believe in its ability to like coordinate people. And yeah, I just think I think we're going to be able to generate value and capture the value of things that, you know, are extremely valuable but hard to capture the value of with decentralized finance. And I think what you're doing here, like creating something that's open source, it's very hard to like capture that value, but it's hard to argue that it's not valuable, right? And so by using DeFi, we're going to be able to, you know, make projects like this a financial success and, you know, make the whole world a better place. So proud of you guys. Happy to be here.
Right on. Awesome. Well, yeah, definitely happy to have you. If anyone in the audience would like to come up and join the stage, feel free to raise your hand. We're going to keep this open, and so we're just doing introductions right now, just getting started. Hopefully we'll be able to run through different things on the agenda today. Preze, what's up? Come on up. So, yeah, we should have, I know I spoke to Seth and Rogue Leader and Kieran, who unfortunately can't make it, but we've got a good crowd going, so this is cool. Preze, how's it going?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So first and foremost, thank you for making this happening. I'm based in Portugal. I'm actually the founder of Preze, which is one of the first licensed companies here in Portugal to be able to cultivate medical cannabis over here. So just looking forward to see where the discussion is going. Obviously, heavily involved as well in crypto and in DeFi projects. So obviously merging both the cannabis sector with crypto or any kind of decentralized organizations is something that is ongoing. So glad to that we are joined here with like-minded people and see where this is going as well.
Very cool, very cool. I apologize for mispronouncing the name. It's Prez? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Preze actually is the company. My name is Henrique. So yeah, and that's the picture of my dog. So
Nice. Yeah, I've got the thumb from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's the Don't Panic thumb. All right, so let's dive in. So I guess, yeah, before we get started, did anybody have, I mean, we've done introductions, but, and so, yeah, my plan was to run through the agenda that I had created. I've been working on this project for a few months now, talking to different people, trying to figure out what the potential impact would be or could be. And yeah, so that's really what I've been trying to put into the different documents I've been, collating and putting together. So in the announcements channel, there is that agenda for today. And a few months ago, I posted on LinkedIn a poll, and the poll asked, do you believe that cannabis genome data should be open source? Or like, do you believe the cannabis genome should be open source? Or something like that. And it got a lot of engagement, it got a lot of interest, and the response to the poll was overwhelmingly yes. I think it was like 83%, 87% yes. Like 5% not sure or something, and like 3% no. And so that was, when I was thinking about, well, how to, go about, enabling open source cannabis genome data, it was like, okay, well, hey, did people even want this? Is this even a thing that is worth putting effort into? And that one of the big concerns that I got in that post was reaching out to indigenous groups and basically, if we're going to be creating this marketplace or some sort of system to allow people to publish genome data or cannabis, research data in general, and to take ownership of it on blockchain, and how would we trace that back all the way to the original source? The American, the U.S. cannabis market has imported a lot of genetics from other locations in the world, or are currently markets that are going legal, are importing genetics from other places that traditional markets in different areas of the world. And those native groups, those indigenous groups, may not necessarily be receiving any sort of royalties or rewards or any sort of benefit from that exchange. And so I think, a platform like I think that I've been proposing so far it would be a way to address that. And that was definitely some of the concerns that were addressed on that poll. So the main driver, I guess, the guiding light was this initiative called the Nagoya Protocol. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right, but that's item number 1 on the agenda that I had, is the Nagoya Protocol. And so I'd love to hear what, the link is in there. We can go ahead and pop that open. But I think, just that's my understanding of what the Nagoya Protocol is about. It's about, there's no official laws, or actual enforcement or, it's regulation, but it's just a sort of guiding document and a agreement from the Convention on Biological Diversity to give credit where credit is due. So I don't know what everybody thinks about that.
I'm not sure how much value I can really add to this discussion, but I do think that's an incredible starting point for you, like to just come from a place of ethics over the ownership of this data. I haven't read up on the Nagoya Protocol though, and so I'm wondering, is it just a means of distributing the ownership of this of the genomic data? Is that what it is?
Right, yeah, and I don't think it does consider genomic data, but it's mostly just considering, genetic resources, I guess, in terms of the traditional way of thinking of the plant itself, the actual seeds, and the materials. So, in terms of, what the original creators of those would be getting, because if they're not issuing permits or licenses and things, then those people could be getting, sort of the short end of the stick. So that's what it proposes to, create guidelines to create those sort of permits and licenses and things, which essentially, if we are creating a system that, is algorithmically, it's on blockchain, that would be built in. We could bake in sort of those ideals or those sort of rules and procedures.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I guess my question is, what do you see is the value of having the cannabis genome fully sequenced or whatnot? The question to answer.
Yeah, you mean like for the original person. So say, for example, if, we as a community were to pursue something like this and reach out to indigenous groups, try to somehow maybe, use some of the funding for the DAO or something to get that data or get their plant sequenced, and then, sort of create some sort of educational information about how to use the whatever we're creating to distribute that, and protect that data. What would the value in that be? I guess that they would. It's kind of like NFTs, right? If you're creating NFTs and someone goes buys your NFT, you can automatically get royalties if they resell it. Or you can then also determine the fair market price, of the original sale, and additional terms with how it's managed, down the line, how it's used or anything like that. And I think with data, we could do things like permissions, like say if somebody wants to publish their data but only allow it to be used for private individuals or academics but not corporate use. We could potentially do things like that. It would obviously involve different levels of user identity verification, which gets tricky. But we could always just have that be options that could be implemented at various levels, right? So say somebody wants to do that, right? We could go ahead and share the data, and with whoever you want to share it with, depending on whether they're verified or not. If you want to share it with verified users or anybody. So I think things like that would really empower any original genetic data owner to then participate in some sort of ecosystem where they could benefit from their work.
Okay, so I'm sorry for being so naive, but I'm just, this is our first meeting as a DAO, and I feel like I'm probably not the only one who's all over the place and, taking part in different organizations, but I'm just wondering if you can sort of sum up in, a concise way what we are trying to do as a DAO, and then what the like value proposition of that would be. And like, I was looking through the that pretty snazzy little what do you call it? The PDF that was like, all about this DAO. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I feel like I could just use like a human explanation.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's honestly, I think, the main reason why I wanted to have the first town hall was to really identify that. So, what I think my vision so far has been is to really incentivize participation in this open source in open source cannabis genome research, because me personally, I believe that all cannabis is medicine. So that if we can incentivize participation, but what does that mean to incentivize, right? I think there needs to be some sort of fairness, some sort of alignment between individuals, private corporations, private entities, academic labs, indigenous groups, any sort of entity, whether that's a person or a group, aligning all of those different separate interests, because it's a fair playing field. So I think that's what the incentivization means to me. So to incentivize participation in cannabis genome research, to move research of the plant forward and develop new therapeutic applications of cannabis.
Okay, fantastic. I feel like I'm starting to see like what it is, right? You see, in my mind, I'm thinking like, what is the actual value of researching the genome of cannabis, except to maybe make it stronger or, potentially make, a more efficient product or something like that, right? But I wonder, I like that you just said therapeutic applications and like potential, furthering of the plant in general. So yeah, I think I'm starting to see it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's over 100 cannabinoids identified in the cannabis genome, cannabinoid synthase genes. So, gene sequences throughout the genome that are highly related to THC or other cannabinoid synthases. But those genes have not really been well studied, because they look like they have active coding sequences, but they do not. We haven't been able to identify the actual proteins that are produced from them, or the cannabinoids that could be synthesized from those potential proteins, right? And so there's those 100 unexplored genes, and that's just the cannabinoids. Then there's all these other potential molecules in the plant, like flavonoids, the terpenes, the alkaloids. So these other, hundreds of different potential molecules, all in different varying combinations. I think there's a lot. People are going through the jungle and the rainforest looking for therapeutic plants and medicinal plants, but there's one right here under our noses with hundreds of different compounds that are yet to be explored. And we know many of those compounds, that are prominent in the plant, that do have very broad or impactful therapeutic applications.
Yeah, amazing. So what you're saying is that this research like can potentially impact, a whole huge a huge array of sectors, right? It can be like, not only medicinal, but I just think like it's a public good almost that you're trying to provide by like, diving into this research.
100%, yeah. And so, yeah, not only moving the research forward, but then also creating that sort of level playing field where, it's a plant. It's not like some other pharmaceutical where it needs to be synthesized by a giant company in a lab. It's not like, it can be grown by anybody. And so I think by sort of creating the DAO structure, sort of leveling the playing field, democratizing access to that information and the ability to take ownership of it, monetize it, participate in that, the knowledge sharing, and the the financial benefit that can come from it would help just fuel that cycle and keep things moving.
Amazing. So then what you are saying is with this Nagoya protocol is that we want to try and like give some of the like, not the proceeds, but like the benefits of this research back to the indigenous people who's like, who discovered these plants. Is that what we're saying?
Right. And yeah, exactly. So I think if we're, just based on that, brief sort of objective that I kind of just overviewed, I think that, if we're going to do something like this and create that sort of system, it would be, sort of obligatory to address the, groups that aren't necessarily currently, that are on the short end of the stick of the current, receiving end right there. This Nagoya protocol exists not just because of cannabis, because of, probably not even because of cannabis, but because of all these other different crops and things that, genetic resources that have been flowing out of indigenous groups into very profitable commercial agricultural sectors. And so I think if cannabis is definitely heading that direction very, very quickly. And so I think, it would be our obligation to sort of address this and make sure that, if we're reaching out to this growing or participating in this growing industry, it would be, our obligation to reach out to those who aren't participating as much and maybe help them, get involved.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool.
So, yeah, cool. Awesome. So that's kind of what my ethos around this has become. And, I've reached out to, so that kind of leads into item number 2, these other groups. So as I've been working on this, trying to get in touch with people, see who's interested, find out what else is out there. There are a couple other groups who have been, working to curate and help to, publish cannabis genome data. So there's a couple companies that are doing, data collection or data generation for different, individuals or other companies, growers and stuff. But it's, there is some data out there, right? So the, I guess I probably should have included in there the NCBI, right? The U.S. National Database for scientific research, essentially, PubMed. So they have this resource called GenBank, where all these genome sequences, genetic data sequences are deposited. And so there are several whole genome sequences publicly available on there for cannabis. And those were generated by various groups, right? Which are some of the ones I've listed in the agenda. So either private corporations like Medicinal Genomics and Phylos, or academic labs like the Nolan Kane lab. There's a couple other labs that have published genomes. Actually, Nolan Kane, I'm not sure if they published one, but they do a lot of resequencing and publishing data because they're an academic lab. So there are these other groups that have been publishing are helping individuals and other growers to get genome data, to produce that genome data. So Humboldt Legacy Group is one that recently got in touch with from Kieran, actually, who's not here today, but he will be joining us next week, I hope. And Humboldt Legacy Group is sort of just a organizer. They are trying to bring together other groups like the Ethical Data Alliance and other growers to, obviously they're based in Humboldt, California, and they're trying to bring people together mainly in that area to preserve the genetics from the growers who have been living in that area for a few generations growing cannabis. And so the Ethical Data Alliance is partnered with them. They're quite interesting. They're publishing data. They're trying to publish data on blockchain as well. But it seems like they have a very different approach. And so it would be interesting. I think the Genome DAO could potentially interface or help collaborate between a lot of these different groups. And so I think that's kind of where I'm sitting with that now. And so I don't want to spend too much time on it other than to say that I think that there's great opportunity to collaborate with all of these other groups, and I don't think that there's necessarily any sort of competition or zero-sum game at play here. So.
Is genetic data proprietary?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's no reason that unless it's from an academic lab. So academic labs, because their funding is usually from a public source, they are then they're not even obligated to publish the data. Honestly, no. They could just keep it proprietary and not share it.
Are there any like conflicts? Let's say I don't know. Yeah, like if we discover the same data that some private institution also, has, there's no, we're not breaking any laws by publishing it, right?
Absolutely not, because that was not protected.
Yeah, right. Perfect.
Right. And so and you can't patent a naturally occurring genetic sequence.
Sweet. Good.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, exactly. So just sequencing DNA and publishing it, nobody's going to come at you for that one. As long as it's actually yours, right? Or unless somebody else is trying to say that they're using that for they did sequence it and publish it in a plant patent. So that gets to an interesting topic of plant patents and genetic data. So genetic data cannot be used as the basis for a plant patent, right? Just a naturally occurring sequence is not patentable. But stacking smiles, come on up. So you can't patent as natural sequence, but you can include it as part of a patent, and you can for a plant patent. And so if a particular breeder creates a new variety of cannabis, then they can go ahead and basically protect that variety using a plant patent, and include the DNA sequence to show that to identify it. But the DNA sequence itself, would then be protected as part of that. But itself is not the basis. It's a weird sort of back and forth.
Well, great. Yeah, I'm just just wanting to say like that there's no conflict with those competing, or like as you said, there's not really competition here.
No, exactly not. Yeah, and I think these other groups, if they do have data, or if members of these groups do have proprietary data, I think what we're proposing here with the marketplace and ownership and access rights and permissions and things would help empower them to then monetize that data instead of just having it locked away and kept proprietary.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's the goal, I think, is to really align these groups, these different groups, and provide this incentive for all of them to share data in a way that's fair and equitable for all of them. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Let's see. What's going on? I'm trying to get Stacking Smiles up to the stage. If anybody else would like to join, again, the stage is open. Please feel free to raise your hand. Cool. Well, let's keep rolling. All right, so item number 3, funding, tokenomics, and governance. So this is when we get into more of the brain dump and stuff that I've just been creating over the past couple of months. So I have been working on a white paper draft. And Dartboy, you mentioned the explainer deck. So I have created sort of a PowerPoint style slide deck that tried to summarize a lot of the ideas I was putting together in the white paper. And again, it's all draft at this point, still very much proposal stage. But I think that the technology that we would need to put this sort of thing together is already out there, and we would just need to sort of build the Legos and put it together. I've also been working on a resource database, which is sort of a spreadsheet, which has a bunch of different things like cannabis grower communities, different grant sources, blockchain resources and things. We've also acquired our first funding, $30,000 US dollar grant from the Near Foundation. and so that was acquired in early November, and has just been sitting in a Near wallet that I created for the DAO, and it just staked it, the entire thing. So it's just been sitting there, staked on the network. And I also applied for a Gitcoin grant in the GR12 round and a OceanDAO grant from the Ocean Protocol in their round 11. Neither of those actually went through to the final grant round because of different issues just getting it approved, but hoping to get those up soon. So, and also I've been reaching out to different DAO communities. Dartboy, that's how we met. So, yeah, just trying to get more people and get more information about how to get this thing going. So, I've shared links in several of the channels. I think the DAO Resource Base channel has several links, but essentially I will just continue to... if anyone has any suggestions, maybe I should create one channel for all this information and drop it in there.
Yeah, so you're saying that, like, as far as the actual core, like, infrastructure for this thing, you're saying most of the tech's already out there and we just need to utilize different things like, I don't know, like Hive and, I don't know, and like Near protocol itself, like, is that what you're saying?
Yes, definitely, and that's kind of what I was going to get into with item 4. So yeah, we can sort of hop over to that as well and bridge the two. So yeah, I'll add Hive to the list. So yes, essentially so kind of what I'm thinking is what inspired some of this is, yeah, I was thinking, okay, how do you get people to share data? I found this thing called Ocean Protocol, which has a fantastic, really well built out, really thoughtful open source protocol that can be forked, and the marketplace can be forked, and we can just create a data marketplace where people can upload data, have ownership of it, have the permissions, all these things I've been talking about. A lot of it's been inspired by their work, and I was sort of drafting this white paper and started searching for things, and I was like, this is perfect. So I think Ocean Protocol is fantastic. Yeah, Hive is awesome in terms of setting up DAOs and getting things set up there. But then, yeah, the question is, and one other major point, the Near Foundation grant does not obligate us to build on Near. They would love for us to build on Near, but we are by no means obligated to do that. So yeah, I think the question is still open of what is the best implementation for such a DAO-governed marketplace, right? DAO-governed data marketplace. And so Ethereum obviously has a lot of infrastructure. Aragon, Gnosis Safes, their whole Zodiac suite, Colony, NextDAI. So there's a lot of stuff on Ethereum. I've also been looking at Internet Computer, which has incredible capabilities to build on top of. And the Near protocol, Near ecosystem is getting built out pretty quickly, and I've been super interested in what is going on over there. Got initially interested because of the grant and the application and the funding of the grant, but the more I've been diving into it, it's definitely seeming like it's potentially a really, really strong option, and I really like the ecosystem.
Yeah, it seems to be getting like pretty widespread adoption, so I don't think you'd be going like, stepping in the wrong direction by going with them.
Yeah, cool. That's good to hear. That's your opinion as well.
Tell me more about this Ocean protocol. You said that it's like a forkable, data marketplace. Is that right?
Yep. So it's really awesome. Let me just go ahead and drop a link in the chat, because that I think is one of the main components that we're going to have to either fork and maintain ourselves, or sort of recreate something similar to what they're doing on different L1. So I'll go ahead and drop this in the general chat. Ocean Protocol.
Guys, are you familiar with the Phylos protocol? I also dropped a link in there. The Phylos Galaxy.
Oh yes, yeah, Phylus Galaxy. Definitely. So that's super cool. The Phylus Galaxy is a project with Cannabis Genome Data where it's kind of like an Ancestry.com project, right? Or a 23andMe sort of project for cannabis, where they were sequencing cannabis genomes for customers and then creating this cool interactive 3D plot where you could zoom around, you could, highlight specific samples or clusters and, literally see physically what it was closely related to because it's mapped out on this, 3D PCA plot. But it's Phylus, the Galaxy was cool. A lot of the data did get published. That was a decent data set. They were, doing not quite whole genome sequencing. It was, a panel of, a subset they were looking at basically of the genome. So not like massive megabases, but a decent data set. It overlapped partially with the medicinal genomics data set, which is Canopedia as well. And so that was cool. Unfortunately they had some issues with PR and how they were using the data and back in 2019, and so they have recently, I think, stopped doing some testing, but there's definitely that visualization was cool, and that got a lot of attention to it, to the cannabis genome itself, because it was like this cool thing you could actually just look at and zoom around. Ocean Protocol. Back to that. So just drop that link in the general chat. That is, it's developed by these, this group that was essentially working on Web 2 databases and sharing data that way and trying to tap into the data economy. And then they, discovered blockchain. I think a while ago. They started working, I think, on blockchain stuff in like 2015. I think they launched Ocean Protocol live in like 2017, 19, something like that. So it's been up on mainnet for a while. I think it was on Ethereum mainnet for a while, and they've deployed on Polygon as well. But essentially the whole code base is open source, forkable. And so we could just take that whole code base and, say, for example, deploy it on the Near EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, which you can just take code that was written for Ethereum and just deploy it on, any other blockchain that has an EVM, such as Near, and just in entirety. But then, there's no connection. You basically have to take that code base and then you're maintaining it now. It's your code base. Like, right, you've just forked it, now you're using it, and it's your thing. Which I think is a great starting point. And if we could always sort of develop alongside what Ocean's doing, if they do anything cool that we would want to copy in the future. But it's really powerful in terms of, it's just really easy to upload a data set and to monetize it. And you set the price for what you want to sell it for. And then users can then compute that data so they can do analysis on that data without ever actually downloading it or seeing the data themselves. They just see the results of the analysis. So you can do cool things like that and sort of have that filter, because of the blockchain. You can prevent people from actually downloading the data if it's sensitive data. Or, for example, if you wanted to restrict it so that corporate users could only analyze, they couldn't download, but maybe private individuals, verified private individuals, or academics could then, could download or something with a restricted license. So you can do all sorts of cool stuff with it. And they just continue building out more and more fine-grained permissions and different ways to use the marketplace. You can stake on data, so you can like curate data by staking on it. So, for example, if somebody publishes a really good genome sequence, or publishes some data from your favorite strain, your favorite cultivar, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be huge. I want to support this. I want to get in on this. Actually, I want to invest in this. You can essentially curate that data set by staking tokens on it and signaling that you support this data set. And then when other people go and use that data set, if they download it, if they perform analysis on it, that incurs network fees, and the people who are staking on the data will then participate in the share of that network fee. It's a really cool way to sort of monetize data and create this marketplace and ownership permissions.
I mean, yeah, this is like blowing my mind right now. This is amazing.
Yeah, so in terms of a starting point, it's fantastic. There is nothing else really like it I found on any other L1 or any other sort of data economy sort of platform. But I have spoken to the founders of Verida, the other option I listed in the data marketplace item on the agenda. So Verida, the VERIDA. So that is a company that's building on Near protocol, and they are trying to do stuff that's very similar to Ocean. So I had a call with the two founders of that company, and they were very interested to hear what we're doing and trying to do, and what we're interested, why we're interested in Ocean. And so they're going to be trying to build out more fine-grained permissions and some of these staking marketplace features and things like that as well, directly on Near, native on Near.
I'm sorry if this is a naive question, but how is the data stored on the blockchain? Like, is it going to be hosted on Near and then like validated, or you know what I mean, like whatever blockchain it's on, or is the Ocean protocol where the data actually is? Does that make sense?
Also, awesome question. Yes, very good question. Because, and so I think the foundation for that is that storing data on a blockchain is expensive and hard. So every time a block is processed, it's usually just the headers of the information, the transactions that's actually in the block itself. So you're not actually storing a ton of that transaction data, right? So if there's a big piece of data, that getting moved and verified on a block, and to get that block moved is going to be really difficult on most blockchains. And so there's other separate dedicated blockchains that have been developed specifically for data storage, such as Arweave and Filecoin storage. IPFS is not a blockchain; it's a decentralized hosting system. So it's called IPFS, Interplanetary File System. And so it's a decentralized way you can host websites on it. You can host just a file on the web that can be accessed via just a traditional URL. And so, but it's kind of slow. So yeah, there's these other systems, and I think I've been preferring Arweave so far, because their whole thing is their whole ethos is that they're trying to make data permanent, so you can permanently store your data on chain with no risk of it ever being lost. And it's a little bit of a different pricing model, a tokenomic model than Filecoin, I think is preferable. But yeah, there's different options out there. And so what we would do is essentially host the marketplace on the main blockchain. Ocean can run on Ethereum, it can run on Polygon. And then that would then interface with the storage layer. So for example, Mintbase, which is the NFT minting platform, and store buying platform, all that sort of stuff. Deadmau5 just released an NFT on Mintbase recently, but that is built on, and it's on Near protocol. So that, for example, all the NFTs you mint on Mintbase are then stored on Arweave. They're not stored on the Near blockchain. The NFT, the images, the data itself, right, the actual NFT files are stored on Arweave, not the Near protocol.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a good solution. I mean, I don't know anything about the economics of it. So I'm just wondering if demand for our data, disappears for 5 years, let's say all cannabis research stops for a little while. How are we keeping our data online? This Arweave is like you're saying, it's permanent, so it's pay once and we're good to go.
Yep.
Or yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So once you register that initial transaction on the blockchain, that data is permanent. It's not going anywhere.
Amazing.
Right. So yeah, cool. I'm glad you agree. I think that's a great potential solution. Probably the number one, and I think we can probably do something similar with Filecoin or storage, but I've been looking most into Arweave. Yeah, and that's one of the big ones too. So it's those sort of main pieces, right? It's the actual blockchain with the marketplace. There's the data storage, and then there's the DAO. And how is the DAO going to be integrated on chain, so that a group of people here on Discord could then make a proposal, and or wherever could make a proposal, and then that be then implemented on chain, so that we could then change parameters of the marketplace, whatever, adjust permissions, fee structure, treasury management as we're raising funds for the grant through grants and before launch, or afterwards, when fees are being collected, how is that going to be allocated and distributed? All those things I think would be the fair game for the DAO to be voting on and managing. So there's different tools and platforms to help implement that on different blockchains. Near has Near has AstroDAO, Ethereum has Aragon, Gnosis Zodiac, the L2 chains like XDAI and Colony that runs on that. There's all these different things. So I mean, there's a whole world of DAO tools now that have been created over the past year or two. So I think that's probably a whole other conversation we can have over the next whatever weeks or month or two as we're building this thing out, and probably will change even over that time and in the future. So yeah, always happy to just drop stuff in the chats during throughout the week. But I think more of the pressing issues that I still wanted to cover today were how do we grow this DAO? I am honestly kind of blown away right now that we have 18 people on this call. That's freaking awesome. This is amazing. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking is how do we get more people involved? How do we, because that's how this thing is going to grow. I've written some code, but I am by no means a developer. I've thrown up some Instagram posts and a website, but there's a lot that would need to be done to get this thing off the ground and actually done. So I think that we need to get more people in here, and yeah. So that's why I made the socials. I think other things we can do is if anybody has any feedback or wants to volunteer to help out with any of these things, by all means, please. I think that's one of the main goals of this call as well, is to start seeing who's interested in maybe starting to contribute in some of these areas, and if we're all in alignment on things, we know what's the most important, and starting to get some of that stuff done.
Yeah, I'm wondering then, can we build out some sort of, I don't know, digital Scrum board with all the, actionable steps that people could take, and then I don't know. I think you also might need to think about some sort of incentive structure as well. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have thoughts on a fundraising NFT or creating a token or something like that? Or is that more, you feel like that's a waste of energy in a way?
No, yes, great point. Incentives, yes. So right. I've just been over here working on this thing because I think it's cool. But right, for sure, I think that's important, and I think it's an important aspect of DAOs, and one that in some of the DAOs I've been getting involved with is really not addressed well. I think it's really important to make sure that everybody is going to be who does contribute gets what they deserve. Like, that's the whole point of this, right? And so yeah, in terms of incentives, yeah, we've raised the one grant. I think my opinion on what should be done with the grant money, I haven't done anything with it yet other than stake it, is that I think it should be saved for launch and used to back a token that we launched for the marketplace to fund some of those initial fees to get the community off the ground. And I would would love to propose, it doesn't have to be decided on now, but just throwing it out there, that early contributors sort of those contributions before launch, before token issuance, are tracked, and then early contributors are rewarded in tokens for the project. Instead of fiat or grant money or whatever, or NFT sales, anything that's raised could go towards backing the token. And then when the token is issued, that token is then already backed, and the contributors would be rewarded from that. But I realize that a lot of people might not be down with that. So I'm open to anything, but I think that might be the fairest, quote unquote fairest way to do it in terms of a fair launch token project for a public good.
Yeah, I think that's that's absolutely the best way to do it in the spirit of a DAO. The only thing that I would press you on is, this whole technology is based on, creating things that are trustless. And so how can we make this a system that doesn't require trust, even though I do trust you, and I think that, that you're a well-intentioned person, XYZ, but, could we build out some sort of system? Are there already systems in place for tracking value and, those types of things? I don't know. Those are questions to think about. Don't have to be answered now.
Absolutely. I'm currently buying the domain wellintentionedperson.xyz.
That's funny. That's funny. I'd like to jump in and sorry I wasn't able to earlier. This is my first time talking in a Discord chat, so I couldn't find the invite button at the top. My name is Caleb from Caleb Marks. I'm the CEO of a company called Allele Group, where we do basically plant and human genome mapping. And also tokenization. I was on some of the early Eden group calls. I'm also on a part of the Humboldt legacy calls as well. I have been basically a breeder of cannabis for about 20 years. I was also one of the first people to put CO2 or put cannabis inside of a CO2 machine. And was the largest importer of electronic cigarettes before they were approved by the FDA as a tobacco delivery device. I've been working on a couple different iterations of just organizing my own seed bank on a blockchain, and a few different iterations for the past 4 or 5 years. And then during COVID, basically, I got into a near fatal car accident and fractured my ankle, and basically was stuck in the hospital and unable to walk for most of the pandemic. So I taught myself Solidity programming language and how to work primarily beginning on the Ethereum virtual machine, but then also other blockchains as well. And I'm even learning some smart contract programming languages for smart contracts on Bitcoin. So I have a lot of experience in this, and I'm super inspired by what you've put together here, Elijah, and I'd love to see how we can collaborate and participate, where I do have a lot of the kind of smart contract infrastructure and just knowledge, where I think we're kind of at a similar level of our realization, and then also on our pathway to actualizing what's best for the cannabis genome, and also by leveraging blockchain technology. I just wanted to say I really appreciate where you guys are going with this, and I'm happy to be here.
Right on. Awesome. I'm glad you were able to make it up, and awesome story. I'm glad you've been able to do so much. Really great to have you here and involved with so many different communities. So cool to see you on the call last week too with the Humboldt group. Sweet. Yeah, but back to answer Dartboy's question real quick, because I do have something else coming up at 11, so I will have to hop off soon. This has been a fantastic call. But to answer Dartboy's question about how do we make this trustless, right? Appreciate you extending that offer of trust to me, but yeah, I think that's really important. I think some level of trust is required in a DAO. The whole idea of trustlessness in blockchain is important, right? Permissionlessness, right? So you can do things without, requiring that, somebody else, you can, it's just in the protocol, right? Code is law. We do something, we know that it's going to happen because we don't even have to trust that it's going to happen. And it's permissionless, right? Anyone can join the DAO, anyone can do these things, right? But how do we actually do that? So I think I just shared the Notion that I've been working on, the Notion page with a bunch of my notes. Just a bunch of, it's just sort of a random, literally just collection of notes at this point, so we can start creating information there. I think having a community, a way to organize people and track contributions that way is literally one way to track it. Also, I will be issuing POPs for everyone who has attended this call. I've been tracking who's been in attendance today, and so I will be, I've created a POP, proof of attendance protocol for this event, and it was just issued this morning. I'm still just trying to go through and get the approval from POAP themselves to issue it, because you have to go through and get that manually now, so I'm in their server waiting to get approval. So for one example, that's just one example of how I'm trying to, at least at this early stage, just at least start doing that already. So I think that's been one of my main goals, is to try and get some of that stuff in place before even having this call, because I wanted to have that be as fair as possible from the start and as trustless from the start as possible. Everyone's going to be getting POPs for today, or at least I'll make it available to claim that POP. I'll drop that info in the general chat as soon as I get the issuing approval from POAP. Notion, any other ways I think we can start, from the start, from the very beginning, to make this a trustless endeavor, all about it.
Love that, mate. Very exciting. Do you need to head off?
I do. I saw Stacking Smiles is unmuted, so I was waiting to see if you had anything else to say.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, that's super cool. And I mean, I think maybe even, some other smart contracts or ways that we could actually have, those, I guess, sort of permissioned access NFTs, that we can start instantiating those for members of the DAO, or different utility tokens, for lack of a better term. But yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to see that.
Definitely. All right, so keep an eye out for the announcement about the POAP claim. But yeah, sweet. I'm really grateful for everyone showing up today. If there's anyone that wants to raise their hand, jump up last minute, I'll hang out for a second. But otherwise, I think, fantastic first town hall.
Proud of you, Elijah. I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Cool. All right. No hands raised. First town hall adjourned. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Have a beautiful day.